Hello everybody, my name is Jerome Wright and you're here with me again on my Dronification channel. Um, what I have here is an image up of a Mayan warrior, okay? And this image, if you Google it, will come up as this guy and an ancient soccer of that of Maya, of the Mayan people, Mayan culture, okay? Now, um, I have in a video yesterday. I referenced about the ancient soccer thing. That's not what it means. It actually it may mean that now, but it started out as a reference of how the Maya actually showed that they were able to genetically bridge and manipulate and control genes that originated from that of our ape and African ancestor. And even the Maya understood how to actually do that, and which genes to manipulate, and how they successfully changed the genes of their people. And this is what this is all a representation of. And if you think about it, it makes perfect and logical sense, because what would make more sense to us than genetically knowing and identifying with who we are? There's nothing that would be more important to that than just that in itself. And it's my position that that's what's happening today in the underground knowledge of the underground ancient knowledge of our ancestors and those that actually know the secret and what's going on. And I'm accusing the Vatican and many others of having knowledge which details that of who we truly are. Um, Here, I'm going to show you with this guy here. I'm going to point out some images, and I highlighted them already so they stand out at you. If you were to Google ancient Mayan soccer, this will come up in your search. Okay. Now, over this guy's arm here, let's go over his arm right here. If you notice in the transparent like image, and I highlighted it, is that this is an ancient representation of that of a fish. And I highlighted it. There's the eye, the scales on its back. There's the nose, its mouth. There's its bottom chin. Now there's other morphing beings in there as well, but I didn't put that in there. At the tail of this fish is that of our serpent. This serpent is identical and consistent with that of the serpent that I have found to be in all ancient glyphs and in that of ancient Renaissance artist paintings that I've actually discovered to have these encryptions in as well. Now, there's the ancient fish. Now, I know how we evolved from these creatures and from these beings, and what genetic manipulations and bridges are taking on, and where they're at today, based on the information of not just through the paranormal experience and encounter that I'm having, but and which give me the instinctive knowledge of this. But you can see the images, and if you know what they are, if you genetically open your mind up to them, you can see them. Okay, and you start to see little things that look just like that, of everything that from which we evolved. And if you looked in this guy's body, you would see the faces of these beings. But I'm going to show you something. Here, I highlighted this guy for you because that being there, look right here and look at the face of this reptilian-like ape. There's his eye socket. That's over his eyebrow. And I'm going to come back to the eyebrow. This is the bottom bone in the eye socket, where it creates the eye socket. Here's the upper nose area, the bone for that area right there. You're looking almost skeletal. Here's the skeletal, like this, with the point on top of it, for the apes, over the top of the ape's mouth. Okay. You see that? And then here's the skeletal-like features for the bottom jaw of that ape-like creature's mouth. And as you can see, an entire face of that being right there in complete description. This is a reptilian ape, which how I know came into our evolutionary chain, which calls for our creation. Later calls for our creation and likenesses of today. Let me show you. Now, this ape has a crown on it. See the lines? There. That's the crown. You know what the ape is wearing a crown of? Of a skull. Its crown dubs as the skeleton, the facial skeleton of another being, which you see that being is face to face with that of this fish right here, creature. Shows you genetic bridging, people. Genetic bridging with that of our land and sea creatures, which calls for likenesses of who this guy evolved from. And he's showing you that he's wearing this. Now, I'm not even going to go there with so much of this other stuff that's going on. I want to show you something that I just seen, and I'm going to bring that to your attention before I go back. Notice that this right here. Let me come around. What did this remind you of? Right there. Let me do that again. Take this guy's head away. And let's go here. All the way around. All the way around. To there. What did that object remind you of? Right there. A Popal's cap. See it? Look at that. Let me keep going. Now, notice how this fish has the serpent at the end of its tail, right there. See that? I highlighted it for you. It's there, right there, showing you that this guy here, his arm is bridged over. He's cross-referenced with those genes. That's what he's signifying by having his arm up in the air, and he's showing you the direction that these genes are going. But notice that the reptilian ape, out of his bottom chin, he has the same exact thing snaking off of his body, showing you how these genetics evolved, from which directions they went back into, and where they came from. Now, let's come back to the ape. The ape's crown, where I left off at initially. The ape's crown is created by the bottom jaw of a skeletal at the mouth point, which actually are the teeth. And right there at the cranial line of the ape's eyebrow, right there, it creates another skull. Death and resurrection, people, and it shows you how these bridgings takes over. Now, this discombobulated thing looking right here is the beak of a bird. And most of you do not know that, and I know, that we got our speech from that of the bird. That's how we're able to talk, which the bird actually, it should not surprise you, because the bird actually evolved from that of our ancient ancestor, which is the dinosaur, which we were genetically bridged over as well too. But our talk, our voice, came from that of the bird, specifically that of the parrot family. Alright, I have proof of that, and I'll go into that later in another video, but this is the reason why the bird plays a key role in being in that of our ancient ancestors' depictions of that of mankind, and the glyphs and the records that they have, not just in ancient Maya, but globally. Okay, ancient Egyptian and everything. That's why you see these beings with these wearing these caps with, I mean, that with all of these different creatures, without me going into detail and getting sidetracked here. All right. Now, what else is there to be realized? Well, these beings are showing you how all of their mutated faces and multidimensional faces that are present here calls from this guy going from this color to that color. See that horn being right next to him, right there in the side of his face there? That demonic figure, the horns. This is the reference of all of our ancient genetics that at one point were dominating, and this is what demons and devils were referenced as. Getting the demon out of your body, getting casting out the demons and all of that. It was a reference of genetics that were created and now being bridged over to be destroyed. And this is what this reference was. It later became popular in the mythical sense of giving us these biblical stories, these movies, and all of the things that are that you instinctively came equipped with, having the understanding and knowledge with, but it was suppressed by something that you were given to be reality and science and religion. And come to find out that all of that stuff, people, is actually it's less than the truth. What is the truth is this. And what's good about this is I like with these multidimensional images and these records is that they're here in your face and I can point them out. And most people would not even understand none of this. But once you do, then there's no turning back. I mean, once the door is open, which I have opened that door up, so now there's no turning back. Now, there's always the reference of the reptilian, of the snake, the reptiles, because these are creatures that played a significant role in who we are. Now, I actually know the beings and that the reptile is referencing and the snake is referencing, the whole nine. I mean, because I am paranormally drawn into this. This is the reason why I can see these things, people that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see. There's the head of that guy there, the snake looking at you. There's the nostril, there's his bottom mouth there. See his mouth open, looking at, peeking at you. There's an eye. And there's another being that's actually morphing that being. Right there. Now, what else is there to be realized here? Well, what is being bridged over? First of all, wherever you'll see the horn likeness of the mother of creation, and you can't look at these images too hard, because if you look at them too hard, you miss the actual face. You have to just find one face and focus in on it and go from there, because she actually has two faces in one. Now check this out. I'm going to give you her first face. Her first face is, here's her chin right there. There's her mouth. She even got juicy lips. I could give her lipstick right now. Then comes up here and there's her eye. There's her right horn. And there's her left horn, I would imagine. Yeah, left horn. And this is her cranial. Here's it over her eyebrow. And her first face right there. So her first face is right here. She's the mother of creation. She's with all the likenesses. Look, I'm splitting. I'm coming around the front. Now, what's unique about her is that she's always verifying. Let me cover up her other face so I don't get. She has there's several faces there. I'm gonna cover that face up and give you her face. There she goes, right there. You see it? Right there. Oh, right there. Now, she appears in the forehead of her own likeness without her horns. Here she's a demonic figure. Now let's go down to her other figure. Where her mouth was, where I told you I can give her beautiful lipstick right there, is also the eye in her other figure. There's her nose, there's her mouth, and this creates her chin right there. And then it shows you, look, coming from her chin is another snaky-like object snaking out. You see that? So her own likeness with her horns first, is showing you the transition and the breakdown of these genetics from her evolution through unto our world from space. This is our evolution, and it's not really about us. It's about her. This being right here. All right. Now, let me take this and show you that how she, wherever she's appeared, there is the image of the ape. Now I have to bring this. Do I bring this upside down? Yeah, I think it's upside down that I actually bring this. Now you start to see other shapes and faces come into play when you turn this upside down. Can we see my ape there? I'm going to say, it's hard for me, once I highlight it, it's hard for me to see the ape backwards. But I think you get it though. You see? You remember the other snaky-like object too I told you coming on? It comes into, over the top of the cranial of the ape, the eye, and look, see this monkey-like mouth right there? You see this? You see that droopy-looking face there, like the ape right there? Now, it's hard to be realized. You know why? Because he's on the back of her likeness, and here she is again right here, the witch-like woman, paired off with this ape. You see that? See the wrinkle? There's a nostril right there. Look at the nostril, people. See the wrinkles over the nose and the eyes and all of that? You see that? And then the witch-like woman there, it shows you the path of these genetics. And then it shows you, look, here's a bridge. Now look, their genetics combined now, coming back over. Look at this fishy-looking creature, which is, look, there. This will be the would-be eye. There's the mouth. There's the bottom lip. There's the top lip. You see that? It shows you a genetic bridging. Now check this out. Come over here and look at this. Long and behold, people, there is another creature upside down that shows you that it's being bridged. You see this? Look at this. You see that? This is the evolution of genetics that were long before our time. And this is the gap in everything. And then it shows you all the creatures that were bridged over, that of our ancient fish ancestor, reptilian ancestor, and what called for all the other likenesses. And I can read this stuff. Now, hold on, let me get that in closer. You see how everything seems to have faces when you look at it in that sense? These are genetic grails, genetic blueprints. Now, over here, we have this being. I wonder if I didn't print the other one. Oh gosh, I didn't print. I'm not gonna go back in there and try to print. You see this being right here? This is a reptilian likeness of a face, and I didn't even know that the Maya actually had, that this actually go to a face. When I highlighted it, I seen the eye and I seen the nose and I seen the lips and everything, the defining features of this face. I didn't realize that it actually was referenced as a face in Mayan record until I was looking for something else and I seen this jaded face, and I knew exactly that that was the face that I had actually initially drew. And this is that is the face there with this, I guess, I don't know if that's jade or what there, but it actually has a cross on the top of his head, which actually symbolizes I don't know if that's a cross or not. Now that's not a cross. Looks like a cross. Alright, here, let me come over here. I'm going to bring it in larger. You see that face there? This is the face that I drew prior to actually Googling it and finding the face. This is the identical face right here. Reptilian face. Then there's another one that I didn't print out. I'm not going to go in here to see if I can find it. But there's another one alongside of this when you Google the information. And it only has this part covering the face right there, and the rest of it is of that of a regular Mayan face, showing you that these genetics, these reptilian genetics were bridged out. And then that's what that's signifying, how these genetic bridgings had actually taken place. And this is what this is all symbolizing. And the Mayan has it referenced. If you looked closely, very closely, people, at what is being stated here, you can see the faces on these snaky-like objects on the end. Like here, for example. The chin, the mouth, the nose, the eye. If you start looking closely at it, and then in that you'll see another face. Here's the chin, the mouth, the nose, the eye. It shows you from all different directions these multi-dimensional images of these beings. You start realizing what is happening here and what is actually truly being said. Look at this here. This being here. This snaky-like object coming over the eye. Look at that, snaking back, snaking back, snaking back, snaking back. And then you will see other faces. Look, a chin, and then all of that going, these genetic going into the mouth of another being, and then there's a nose, then there's an eye. Now this is at that reptilian ape, mind you, that is actually upside down. On the well, this is actually upside down. It's right in there. That's right in there. And you see these faces. People, what this is showing you, look at this guy. It's showing you that these genetics are going in both directions. It's a genetic highway of who we are, a genetic ground. And everything that these people, the Vatican and all of them were claiming in religion today, is all stolen history from Egypt, Mayan, globally. Cambodia, Angkor Wat, all of this is stolen history. Look out through the cat. Now this is supposed to be an armor plate chestware. How though through the cat, there's the head. Now suddenly this is a Popo's cap. Whereas there was no history of our white European counterparts before this stuff. There was no history. Now all of a sudden they have all of this history and then changed it into something entirely completely different than that of everything that we evolved from, which was that of African, and that of ancient Japan, ancient China, ancient Maya. Almost sound like ancient mama, but ancient Maya. Just all of this ancient history has been changed and stolen and reconfigured to actually be something that is a total lie. When I'm showing you the truth right here. Here's the truth. Now, there's other images. Now, how did I get to all that? I like to tell how I arrived at all of this. I arrived at all of this because I was studying, if I can find it, here it is here. I was looking at this. This is a square. Well, let me turn it this way. This is a square. You see that? How I got to all of this is that for a few days now, that square I just showed you, I've been equating it with this. That the Maya had the first square, measuring square. And once I seen this, I actually saw that as being a square. I use a square too, by the way. And so when I seen it, automatically knew that that's what it was. And then being that I have this higher knowledge of these genetic bridgings and who we truly are, I knew that this was a measuring device, or a symbol of a measuring device, which was that of the square. And the only thing that could be being measured is that of the beings that are there, and not just genetically, but physically. Now, given that sense, because we know that the mind know how to measure time, and they did it very well, and if they mastered that, then, and they knew who they were, and this tool I'm showing you was a tool of measurement, which is the square, then they made the first square. Ancient Mayas had the first square, because this is the evidence of the first square right there. So they invented it. And I'm telling you that this square is used here as different levels of measurement here. In a genetic sense, that's what this is, a scale. This is a table of who we genetically are, and these different levels is what's going on. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail as to what's going on here, but I will tell you that this, from this point here to that point there, is 5.5 inches exactly. Translated in centimeters is 14 centimeters. From this point of this guy's head, which is right here, as shown by the discoloration in his headpiece, right there, to here is 5.5 inches to the bottom of his feet. This distance here is 2 3/4, exactly half of this 5.5, which actually is 2 3/4, which actually translated into centimeters, which would be 7 centimeters, which is half of the 14 centimeters, which is over here. Exactly half. So on both measurements, exactly half. From here to there is the arm measurement. Now in the square, this is called the tongue, and this is called the blade. What I'm telling you is that there is a significant reference between this tool, this measuring tool, and what is being said here about these genetic references and our genetic bridging, because these Mayan people are telling you who they are and how they got to where they were then currently, and how they genetically did so by these bridgings with these creatures, and what we can genetically expect from them in the future. And that's what this was all about, these genetic bridgings. I measured the foot, because now I'm believing that this square is not measured in inches, but is measured in foot. So the only way that I can tell by through a foot, and just seeing this image here, is I measured this guy's foot, and it's exactly 7/8. Okay. Now I took that and translated it into feet here, and I got 6.5 feet in height. Now how I got 6.5 feet is because I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then this here guy is split right there with the splitting line, so I gave it half this way, so that's 6.5, and then the arm length, if we want to call this the arm, which would be 1, 2, 3, 3.5, because it takes half of that, so the arm length would be 3.5, which would seemingly be consistent with that of what is being said here and what's happening with our bodies today. Now, we can also go 7 foot in height by 3 foot arm reach, which would still be consistent with that of the day. Now you're saying, well, the Maya is only 4 to 5 feet tall in record today. Well, it's my position that these people, in genetically bridging themselves and genetically altering themselves, realized that there was a change in their growth, in their height. And all of this is being referenced in everything that's being stated there. Now you're saying, well, I can't imagine no Mayan man being no 7 foot tall and all of that. Well, the problem with all of that is that if you understood where you genetically came from, which all of that information was stolen from you, as I'm showing you now, then you would understand that our ancestors were actually much larger, because the creatures that I can show you that we evolved from explains why skeletal remains like such are being found in the Americas. I believe specifically South America. That's one, But you don't hear them speaking much about that today, do you? You don't see that on television. You know why? Because those that enjoy the knowledge of that of who we are, it's like taboo to speak upon this. Because you know why? They're capitalizing commercially off of you and suppressing this kind of information from you. So why kind of cut off their own leg and own foot to, so to speak, to give you this information? There would be nothing more important to me in this right now, if I was to find something like this, than to spend the rest of my life. And if I had a television show, if I was Ted Turner, or if I was Bill Gates, I mean, the hell with Microsoft and all of that nonsense, I would spend the rest of my resources on knowing what this stuff is. The reason why the other cheek is turned on this stuff, people, is because these people already know, and they now just see that we found the evidence of it. And here's another one right here. It's not just one. Look, that's one being found. And look at the size of this guy. He's only about 5'1", 5'2". Look at this guy here. Or anywhere from 5'1" to 5'2", 5'3" maybe. And look at this guy. And then look at this guy. They'll call that a giant. I'm telling you that there is an evolutionary chain of events that calls for our ancestors to be created like this. Even here, people, look, there were successful genetic mutations of our ancestors. How come they don't talk about that? Look at the skull on this guy as compared to this guy that's digging him the hell out of his grave. Look at this. Look at the arm in relation to this guy's arm. There's a certain level of enjoyment with this knowledge and what's happening that is so mind-boggling that sometimes it should make you angry. How come this stuff is not being aired every day to you on television? You honor religion and this here. You know why this is not being shown to you every day? Because this goes against everything you were taught in religion. They'll tell you, you know what Christianity dismissed this as being? Oh, this must be related to the story of David and Goliath. That must be Goliath. Well, that would be good if you only found one of these. If you got two of these and then others of these. So what is the story for this guy? You done burnt us out with the story of Goliath, possibly when you found the first head, a big large skull. Now what's the story behind multiple finds? You run out of creating stories because the ones that you have already created are already now etched in stone. That's the reason why. I can give you the creatures. I can deliver the creatures that calls for these genetic beings to be created. I can show you where the genetic bridgings took place that calls for these types of existences. This is what this is all about, people. Who you genetically are, how you genetically became, and then the race to keep you in the dark about it all. And that's what's happening. Now, where were we at here? Okay. Measuring device, the square. It's my position that each one of these symbols represents a mutation. Almost as if I stuck my arm out and drawed out my blood. If they took a semen sample from me, these are different levels of genetic mutations. On this side is symbolizing that of semen in my mind, and on this side there's blood, and it's showing you, and they will tell you that they're keeping score and all of that. Then why there's no evidence of no ball being that big? Why is the ball so much larger than the actual people? I mean, this will be a smaller ball. You see the balls that we use today. We don't have no balls that big in sport today, do we? That we're using. I mean, unless it's on a kid's playground with little kids. But I don't even think there's none that big then either. So how can you believe logically that that's a soccer ball or that's a volleyball? You just can't. It's logically inconsistent with what there is in place today. And I just showed you what is actually being stated by it all. Now, and I can show you faces in this too, by the way, because wherever you see this at, this is referencing genetics. And in the darkened areas are the faces, the mutated faces of our ancestors, or our black ancestors. If you look in here, you'll see faces in here, in that direction, in this direction. You see that? I can give you a nose, an eye, and a mouth. I can show you faces in here. Because they're genetic bloodlines. They show you the creatures. They're not just going this way, but you can see those same faces and looking direct look. They don't just look this one way. I can give you an ape face looking this way, here, looking that way. I can give you one looking straight at you. I can give you one looking this way. Because they're morphing dimensional images. Bloodlines that go in multidimensional directions. And this is the reason why they have these multidimensional faces and likenesses that can be shown throughout all of their drawings and everything that they have. Faces. Through different mutated levels created through existences of their genetic bridgings and manipulations of our kind. I think I'm going to end that video there. Is there anything that I'm missing? Let me come back to this again. I guess that'll be it. But if you look closely, let me draw you a face before I go. How about that? How about if I draw you a face? Let me draw you I'll draw you a face before I go. Do I have a marker here? Our ancestors, the Mayan knew. I gave you where was the snake at? Let me see if I can draw you this face right quick. I'm going to draw you a face right here. Right there. Alright. Do I have my clipboard? Yeah. I'm going to show you something about how they get down like that. Can I do it? Yeah, I guess I can right there. There's actually several faces there, but I'm just going to try to single out one. Something that you can identify with seeing that you may have saw before. That's the good thing about all of this, is that everything that is being drawn, you have seen it before. And that's why you can relate to it. That's why you're relating to my videos. You know why? Because everything that has been marketed to you over time in our Hollywood movies, and Christianity and everything in our business, all that stuff is stolen artwork from here. And now that I'm showing it to you, I'm playing it back to you, is why you can see it. I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to see if you can see that face. Right there. Right here. You see that skull-like looking creature up in there draped? You see that? I even gave it. You see it right there? Look. Right there. With the pearls and all of that. Look, the crown and all of that. Look at that. Look at the cheekbone, the nose, and the eye. You see that? And look. Is that the teeth there? Look at that. Now, let me give you something side by side. Hold on, let me put this one. Alright, let me put this one up. Let me take that down. Let me put this one up. And then I'm going to fold that and put that over top of it. I got to get out of here too. I get caught up with this. want to show you something. I'm going to fold this in half. Even got a face upside down in the other direction. Let me see. I done lost it now. Shit. I done lost it. Hold on. Was it like that? Oh, yeah. There you go. Look. There you go. See how you have the crown draped in jewels and all of that, and then the skull. See the features of the skull? See the eye socket, the teeth, the nose. How come I can turn this image? Now all I did was just highlight. Let me bring that in closer so you can see where I can just highlight that. How come all of that is seemingly right here? See how this is noticeably almost making the pearls, the jewels? You see that? The nose and the face of a skeleton. You see all of this, how this all correlates with what is being symbolized here? You see that right there, people? And then you can take that. Can I turn it? What they don't know is that you can take that same symbol. Let me see if you can take that same symbol. Now check this out. Now you're saying, see how I gave you the crown, I just gave you that in this image as well too. Here. And then the Pope is in the background here with his with the symbolizing of the Pope's crown. And lo and behold, here's the Pope's crown right here. And then all of these other faces and mutations up in here, people. Look. Which all of this identifies and means. The symbols that's in with the crown of the Pope, and kings and queens, their crowns, and all of that stuff is equated with symbols and symbolizations that are encrypted. Well, not even encrypted because you don't know what they mean. So they're right there in your face. But why is there a demonic being right here in the face? This is one of our ancestors. I'm not afraid of this guy. This is one of our ancestors. It's all symbolizing how we evolved from our black ancestors. Well, actually, before that, it actually goes to how we were created and how we were bridged over and the manipulations and everything else that came forth out of that. I'm even seeing mutations here looking at me. Look at how this, I'm looking at this here. Look at that. Chin, mouth, nose, an eye. Then there's another face. Forehead, nose, and mouth. And then there's another chin. Look, looking up out of that. Alright, so that's two faces right there morphing each other. Now you're probably saying, Jerome, you're getting carried away. No, I'm not, because that is showing genetics going into the mouth of another being here, which has the same symbolization. Look, what's here is there. There's the other face that's right there, and then it shows you this one branching out. There's another face there going into this, like this purple cap area. But the main point about it is that if you turn it over, you have the face that's actually in the genetics that were created right there, wearing this long cap. And if I can recollect correctly, you see things like this here being symbolized in other culture worlds. That long cap. So you have this long cap here, and then you have a Popo's cap there. I wish I had my reptilian image of Pope Alexander. You got to see the rest of my movies. I mean, the rest of my videos. It's actually pretty good. Yeah, people, I don't take nothing for granted with all of this. This is all genetic bloodlines that's going in all directions, and it's showing you how you were created. That's what this is all about. All right here. And in the darkened areas, you see our black ancestors. You see these bridging overs. Look in the darkened areas. All of these bloodlines genetically bridged over. All of these creatures. My name is Jerome Wright. I'm going to end this video here. I got to get out of here. In fact, I got to go do some other things and all. I'm going to leave you with that. There is one other thing that I want to make reference to about this, because I gave you the measuring tool. I want to give you something else about this before I go. I said that this was a square, and it shows you different levels of it being taken off. Well, there's a guy that's standing over here on this side. Do I have him there? I don't know where he's at. Do I have him? It might be here. Yeah. And I was talking about the height thing and all of that. Notice how on this side, where I said that this is the blood side, well, that this is the blood side over there. Where is he at? Oh, okay. Here. This I had this cut out in the first image. This side goes all the way down to the floor with this guy at his feet level. Then, if this was turned up, like if this was a square, like I said, this turns up, creates this likeness here, shows you that this is in him. Alright? So instead of this being turned up like the square, like here with these creatures, it's showing you that the tongue of the square, or the arm of the square, is genetically interrupted, bridged. Okay? Showing you the creature, which would be up there in that square, if this part was turned up and coming a long ways, as we have over here on this side. Shows you the interruption, the bridge. And that's the measurements that I can get from all of this. Here it's suggesting that it took place at the head, okay, which has an ancient symbolization too, which I'm not going to go into detail about. And over here is symbolizing that it took place at the feet. But you see this bottom part missing out? It's not at his foot level. It took place at the feet. It's showing you a genetic exchange between blood and semen. That's what I'm suggesting right here. At multiple levels of measurement. And I'm suggesting that this tool, which I have identified to be exact that to our today's likeness, measurement of the square, that's what's being referenced here. Which I believe that this tool, if it was used in the way that I say that it was, and I believe so, in everything that I can feel, then there was no problem for them to understanding this being a tool in measurement for themselves genetically, and in heights and the measurements of genetic transformations with themselves. Then surely they could have used this on building structures, buildings designs, as weapons and as tools for anything in use. And that's what this was all about. Later in weapons and boomerangs, cutting this part off, making a boomerang. All of this, I'm stating, has a factual significance, and it's very, very logical that all of that I'm stating is very possible. And everything that I just showed you. Now, there was something else that I wanted to show you, and I got carried away there in thought. Alright, I guess I'm going to end this. I guess I'm going to end this video there. My name is Jerome Wright. You're watching my Jeronification channel. I'm going to leave it with that. And there's a whole lot more about this that I can show you, but I don't want to do it now. that's why you keep seeing me going in and out with this. There's a lot more about this that I can show you. I can show you something about this that has a very, very, very hidden message that details more about my position of what I'm stating, but I cannot show it to you now. But there's a whole lot more that has more support than what I'm saying, that I don't need a scientific verification for what I just said. In other words, I can show you something about this image that is self-verifying, that I can self-verify myself, in other words, in a better way that I just explained here, but I'm not prepared to do that right now. But there's evidence right here in this entire image that I can take and show you everything that I just said is true and correct, and I can show you something about this that you would not believe. It would just blow you away. But I'm going to leave it with that and just tell you that I can do it. One day I'm going to be very, very famous anyway, and I'll have the experts show you. But there's something about this that can be understood in a way, in a layman's sense, that we don't need scientists to verify anything that I just said. All I have to do is to show you what it is, and you say, well, that's it. I mean, I don't need no more. This guy just showed me. That's it. Alright, my name is Jerome Wright. You're watching my Jeronification channel. I guess I'll have to see you on my next video. But the next time you see the Pope's cap, you know what to think about. Think about the Mayan chest shield right there, because that's what that is. And then think about all of the faces that I showed you. And chin, nose there. Okay. Then there's another cap, horn on it. Now check this out. And then off on that face, there's another face there. And look at all of the multidimensional faces that are there. And that's what this is all symbolizing as being cross-referenced. And now check this out. Crossed over the top of the cap. And I've seen this in Egypt too, by the way. You have the face of a monkey wearing a cap, an ape, reptilian ape, and showing his genetics snaking off across there. All cross-referencing, cross-referencing of genetics that evolved through prehistoric creatures of our world. And their faces are all included in this and symbolized because these people genetically knew who they are. Just like there are people today that enjoy this knowledge and keeps it from you. My name is Jerome Wright. I'm going with that. I'm going to end this video. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy this video.